Bermudas, back to Simplify Your Move, Module 3B, and this is for those of you who are downsizing in place, okay? So things are a little bit different if you're downsizing in place. You can pretty much skip page 1 and 2 in your workbook because they probably won't apply. But if you have any particular dates, such as a roommate moving in or you set a date for a party, write those dates down in your calendar and on your worksheet so you remember when they are. A lot of people use that as a motivation for getting things organized. I know a lot of people who will actually have a party date set, and they will say, I will have my house, or I will be moved into it and have it ready by this date. Boy, does that motivate you. So that's something to think about if you need a little extra motivation. Give yourself an opportunity to repurpose and reimagine the home you are living in right now. And you may want to get your favorite beverage and have a seat, maybe even go outside or in a park and really think about it. One of my favorite places to go is there's a beautiful outdoor park not too far away from where I live. It's called Rancho San Antonio Park. And it's wonderful just to go take your car. I call it my office on wheels. And if I'm maybe going to start a new book or think about a project, I will literally just go park there and have my notepad or my computer and just write. And you're undisturbed and you can think. And so give yourself that opportunity. Ask yourself, what activities do you want to make room for in your new home? Once again, there's all different things you could be thinking of. In your home, we're talking about your current home, you may have spaces that you're not using at all. Think about that as an opportunity. It could be that you might want to Airbnb it, you might want to do collage art. There's so many opportunities. A playroom for the grandkids. I have a list of different ways people are using their space and also different ways they are using their space as far as ideas on new lifestyles is basically what it is. If you're thinking of downsizing, maybe you're downsizing in a different way. You know, maybe you have different activities that you want to participate in. So kind of just give yourself the opportunity to think about and dream about what you really want. Ask yourself also what other buildings you have. So a lot of people who have lived in a home for a long time will have garages, attics, basements, patios, porches, outbuildings, even barns. Give yourself the opportunity to include those in your planning. What are you going to use those areas for? You can absolutely clean them out and use them for nothing. That's absolutely fine. But maybe you have a relative or friend that needs to rent your barn for a while. Maybe not to live in, but maybe to store some things. Maybe I'm using a barn as an example because there's so many cool things you can do with those and that I've seen people do. Perhaps maybe you are thinking about renting out that space for some extra income for somebody who's got a small business. I'm not endorsing any of these things, but give yourself a chance to actually think about it. There are so many opportunities and ideas out there that I think sometimes people overlook because they're new and different. And just think about your opportunities. What do you want to do? What can you do? Okay, so the other thing that's important when you're not actually moving and you are downsizing in place is to think about the reality of each space. If you've lived in your home for a while, there may be some things that need repair. There may be things that need updating, things that don't work exactly as you would like. They may need to be painted, remodeled. So think about that too. The reality of the space, how much work, how much cost is it actually going to take to do those things? And above all, don't be afraid to hire help. Sometimes people they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want somebody to see my mess. It's been like that for 20 years. You know what I mean? And it may be little things like, oh, I really want to switch out these rooms, but what if everybody thinks it's a dumb idea or something like that? Don't be afraid to hire an organizer. You can, there's lots of ways you can find one. Or professional organizers, we've seen it all. And we are not judgmental because we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we really help you to see the light at the end of the tunnel too. So if it's hard, maybe if you're not physically up to it, or maybe just not mentally up to it because it's just over draining, don't hesitate to ask for help. I would say in most cases you'll be thrilled, right? Because you'll get the work done and you'll be able to look at things in a new perspective, and be able to enjoy your house and your living space. So think about it. It might be a possibility for you. Also, print out donations and no longer needed. That way you can keep track of, like I said, once again, the larger donations in your home that you're no longer going to keep. That maybe you just don't like them anymore. Maybe you want to replace it with something new. So by printing out the sheet and writing it down and putting a sticky on it, it just helps you keep top of mind those things are going to go, so you can plan on how they're going to go. The other thing is when you're downsizing in place, a lot of times you're going to be using things in another room, not in the same room. A lot of people switch up bedrooms and use bedrooms for different purposes. And so you're switching things around within your home. And that worksheet will help you keep track of that so that you can remember what's going to go where. I mean, sure, you might be able to keep it all in your head, but I just think it's a lot easier to just write it out. It also makes you think about it in a different way. So, once again, these 2 worksheets are for large items, not little stuff. It's for the big stuff. You also are going to want to print out 1 room-by-room worksheet from page 8 of your workbook for each room in your home. Put it on your clipboard, along with your other 2 worksheets, and then it's time to begin. As you do your walkthrough, you're going to go into every single room and storage area, one right after the other, identifying each room and taking notes on your clipboard or into your camera. So you'll walk in and you'll say, extra bedroom, or you might even want to give it a name, green bedroom, blue bedroom, and then you're going to look around and you're going to say, I no longer want to use this for a bedroom. I want to use it for a playroom for my grandkids. And so then you're going to jot down those things that you might want to do. You're going to want to repaint it. You might want to hire an interior designer. You may want to put 2 bunk beds in. Jot down those things. Give yourself a chance to have fun, right? So whether you choose to walk around with your clipboard or to walk around with a video camera, it doesn't matter. You can watch the video later and transfer the data onto your worksheets. And I had gone through the checklist on page 8 in 3A, but I'm also going to highlight a few things on this worksheet for you guys who are downsizing in place as well. So very important, repairs, we already talked about that. Does it need shelving or cabinetry? What about lighting? That's one thing that often gets overlooked. Is the lighting going to work for the new purpose that you're giving the room? Okay, really important. You don't want to have no light in a room where you're going to paint. It doesn't work. The look may not be you anymore. I mean, everybody changes, and what we liked 20 years ago may not be what we like now. Change it. Don't worry about it. It's paint. You know, it's decoration. It's wallpaper. If you absolutely were to do something you would hate, you can always change it back. So think about what you really like. Think about things that are, I love this one here, not organized the way you like to use it. Okay? So maybe there's something wrong with the way things are stored in there. Maybe you like to store those things in that room, but there was something wrong with the way that you stored it. You didn't like the storage containers. That's a simple one. That happens a lot. Or the storage is too high, can't be reached. Or there's no room to put your extra throw pillows. Just think about it. So think about these things and the layout and everything like that as you walk through each room. So important. Okay, so another big question that everybody always wants to know is, where do I start? Okay, so I've figured out my plan. I'm kind of knowing what I'm going to do. It's like, where do I start? So let's say that you decided to start in your kitchen. Okay, my rule is start in storage first within an area. and I'm going to tell you why. Because let's take our example of the kitchen. If you start in the kitchen and you're going through the pantry, you're going to go ahead and organize that. As you find things in the rest of the kitchen, you will have more space to put things away. There may be other things that are stored elsewhere in the kitchen that are going in the pantry. And then after you do the pantry, then you start doing your cabinets. And then after your cabinet, then you start doing the tops of the countertops. So there's a method to it. For example, if you're going to go ahead and organize a whole house, and you know that you're going to go ahead and organize this whole house, and you know that you have things in rooms that you're actually going to remove, that you do want to keep, but right now you have one room that you'd like to Airbnb, and if you ever decide that you want to use it as something other than an Airbnb, you're going to want to put those things back into that room. So how you can do that is start with your storage. Start with cleaning out the garage and organizing that. Organizing your barns and your sheds, because you're probably going to find, because in those places people usually store things they don't see in quite a while, you're probably going to find there are things in there that you can easily donate. They're things that you don't need anymore. And then that frees up space so that that room that you want to Airbnb, those extra things, those personal items that you were storing there, let's say it's maybe a box of memorabilia, you have a place to put it. So you don't have to leave it in your Airbnb room. You have a place to put it and room to put it when you get around to cleaning out that room and repurposing it. So really important. Within an area, start with storage. There's always going to be a kingpin. I call them a kingpin because there's always one room that is going to be the easiest to start with. Garages are easy. If you don't have a garage, then let's say you're going to start with a room that's easy, really, really easy. Like, for example, the idea of starting with the kitchen. You already know that you're going to clean out your pantry. You already know pretty much what's going to go in each of the drawers, and you know what things in your kitchen you want to keep. So if you start there, it's like you're successful. You've finished one area, and then you can move on to the next area. Certain things have to move when you're downsizing in place first. You know, it could be that maybe your guest bedroom has to move first because you have a niece that's coming to stay in 2 weeks, so you have to start there. So there usually is, if you have trouble thinking about where to start, that's one of the things you can go on to my Facebook group and you can ask me and I can help you figure that out. That's usually a no-brainer. We can figure out where to start. Okay, so I also want you to remember that near the end of this workbook, there are 10 of my best organizing tips that apply to downsizing. So don't miss those. Go to the end of the workbook and read those tips too. That will also help you. And don't forget, whether you're moving or downsizing in place, listen to both Module 3A and 3B. The one you're going to do first, if you're moving, 3A first. If you're downsizing in place, 3B first. But then go back after you do some preliminary planning and listen to the other one, because they're both a little different and sometimes you'll pick up a tip or an idea, or maybe you'll understand something better after you listen to the second one as well. So I look forward to seeing you in the next module, Module 4.